In the winter of 1809, in a small wooden cabin in Kentucky, a baby was born into poverty. There were no signs of greatness that night. No crowds, no celebration, only cold wind against wooden walls and a family hoping for a better tomorrow. That child was Abraham Lincoln. His early life was not filled with comfort. He did not grow up with wealth or opportunity. Instead, he grew up working in fields, chopping wood and helping his family survive. His hands became strong from labor long before they ever signed historic documents. But inside him lived something stronger than muscle, a restless mind. Lincoln had very little formal education. Schools were rare, and books were even rarer. Yet, whenever he could borrow a book, he would read it carefully, slowly, as if each word mattered deeply. At night, beside the fireplace, he studied by dim light while others slept. He once said, "I will prepare, and someday my chance will come." Life tested him early. His mother died when he was only 9 years old. The loss left a deep sadness in his heart. That sadness never fully disappeared. Throughout his life, Lincoln struggled with moments of deep depression. But instead of letting pain defeat him, he allowed it to teach him empathy. He understood suffering, and that made him compassionate. As a young man, he worked many jobs: store clerk, surveyor, rail splitter. He failed in business. He lost elections. He faced rejection again and again. Many people would have stopped trying, but Lincoln did not. Each failure strengthened him. Each loss taught him patience. Eventually, he became a lawyer in Illinois. He was known for his honesty. Clients trusted him. Opponents respected him. People began calling him Honest Abe, but America itself was struggling. The country was divided over slavery, one of the darkest chapters in its history. Some believed slavery was necessary,
Good, now let's
others
finish this
believed it was
circle.
morally
Okay.
wrong. The
Perfect.
tension grew
See,
year
you're
by
doing
year.
great.
Lincoln believed the nation could not survive divided between free states and slave states. He warned, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States. His victory was not
I
welcomed
have to
everywhere.
do this. There's
Southern
no
states
way.
began leaving the Union. Soon, the nation was at war. The Civil War was brutal. It was not just a battle between armies, it was a battle of ideas. Freedom versus slavery. Unity versus division. Lincoln faced enormous pressure. Generals disagreed with him. Politicians criticized him. Newspapers attacked him. Soldiers died in horrifying numbers. Every day, he read letters from grieving families. Every night, he carried the burden of decisions that cost lives. He did not seek glory. He sought the preservation of a nation built on the idea of equality. In the middle of this war, Lincoln made a decision that would define his legacy. On the 1st of January 1863, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. With that signature, enslaved people in Confederate states were declared free. It was not just a political action, it was a moral statement. The war now had a deeper purpose: human freedom. The conflict continued for 2 more painful years. Thousands more died. The country suffered deeply. Then came the Battle of Gettysburg. After the battle, Lincoln delivered one of the most famous speeches in history, the Gettysburg Address. It was short, only a few minutes long, but its words were powerful. Government of the people, by the people, for the people,
Deep breath
shall
in
not
for
perish
me.
from the earth. In that moment,
Sounds good. You can
Lincoln
breathe
reminded
normally now.
America and the world what democracy truly meant. Finally, in 1865, the war ended. The Union was preserved. Slavery was collapsing. Hope returned slowly to the nation. Lincoln did not speak of revenge. Instead, in his second inaugural address, he called for healing. With malice toward none, with charity for all, he wanted to rebuild the country gently, fairly, wisely. But only days after the war ended, tragedy struck. On the 14th of April 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theatre, Abraham Lincoln was shot. The next morning, he died. The nation fell into shock. Church bells rang across cities. People cried openly in the streets. Soldiers who had survived war wept for their leader. His funeral train traveled across the country, and
Having
millions
considered
stood
the evidence
silently
and
to honor
arguments,
him.
this court
They were
finds in
not just
favor of the
mourning a
plaintiff.
president.
Counsel will
They
proceed
were
in
mourning a
accordance with
man
the
who
law.
carried their pain.
The court has
Years
reached its
later,
verdict.
a grand memorial
The
was built
defendant
in
is guilty on
Washington,
all
D.C.
counts.
The
Fellow
Lincoln
citizens,
Memorial.
we cannot escape history.
Inside, a
We of
large
this
marble
Congress and this
statue of Lincoln
administration will
sits
be
calmly,
remembered in spite of
watching over
ourselves.
the nation he fought to preserve. But his true legacy is not in stone. It lives in the idea that all people deserve freedom. It lives in the belief that democracy must survive division. It lives in courage during times of crisis. Abraham Lincoln was not
The
born
Union must be
powerful.
preserved at all
He was not
costs.
born wealthy.
But sir, the opposition
He was
grows
not born
stronger,
into
and we shall
privilege.
meet them with
He was
resolve.
born into struggle.
Fellow citizens,
Yet,
we cannot
through
escape history.
perseverance,
Fire
honesty,
trial through which we pass will light us down
When
in
Abraham
honor
Lincoln
or
died,
dishonor.
the nation felt empty. It was as if the steady voice guiding the storm had suddenly disappeared. But sometimes, a leader's real power begins after his life ends. After his funeral train passed through cities and towns, something changed in the American heart. People who had disagreed with him began to understand him. People who had doubted him began to respect him. Time has a way of revealing truth. In the years after his death, America faced new struggles. Rebuilding the South was difficult. Equality was not achieved overnight.
My fellow Americans,
Freedom
the
on
challenges
paper
we
did
face
not
demand our
instantly
unity and
mean
resolve.
fairness in life.
Together we can build a stronger,
The
more
road
prosperous
was
future
long.
for all.
But Lincoln had planted something powerful, an idea. The idea that a nation must stand for equality. The idea that democracy must survive division. The idea that
We will make
leadership
America
requires
great
sacrifice.
again. Together we will win. Our
Decades
country
later,
will be
when new
respected again,
generations
believe
demanded
me.
civil rights, they remembered Lincoln's promise of freedom. When leaders spoke about unity, they quoted his words. When America faced crises, wars, economic depression, social division, presidents looked back at Lincoln's example. How did he stay calm? How did he carry pain without hatred? How did he forgive instead of revenge? The answer was simple. He believed the country was bigger than politics. He believed humanity was bigger than anger. In Washington, D.C., visitors walk up the tall steps of the Lincoln Memorial. They stand before his massive statue. His face is calm. His posture is strong but gentle. It feels as if he is still watching over the nation. School children whisper when they see him. Soldiers salute. Leaders give speeches there. But the real Lincoln is not only in marble. He lives in every person who chooses fairness over hatred. He lives in every leader who chooses unity over division.
We are pleased to announce that
He
our
lives
company
in
has
every
reached a
citizen who
significant
believes freedom
milestone.
matters.
Thank you for your attention.
His life reminds us of something important. Greatness is not loud. It is steady. It is patient. It is principled. Abraham Lincoln was not perfect. He made mistakes. He faced doubt. He struggled with sadness throughout his life. But he never allowed fear to guide his decisions. He allowed conscience to guide him. And that is why, more than 150 years later, the world still speaks his name. From a poor boy in a wooden cabin, to the leader of a nation at war, to a symbol of democracy. His journey was not easy, but it was meaningful. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. It is not about how long we live. It is about what we stand for. Lincoln stood for unity. He stood for equality. He stood for hope during the darkest days. And because of that, his story will never truly end. After the war ended, America was not truly at peace. Yes, the guns were silent. Yes, the Union had survived. But the nation was wounded. Cities were destroyed. Families were broken. Trust was fragile. And in the middle of that fragile moment stood Abraham Lincoln. He did not celebrate loudly. He did not speak with pride. He spoke softly because he understood something many leaders forget. Winning a war is easier than healing a country. He walked through hospitals quietly. He listened more than he talked. He believed the South should not be crushed, but forgiven. With malice toward none, with charity for all. Those words were not politics. They were his heart speaking. Lincoln knew anger would only create another war. He wanted unity. He wanted a future where children would not inherit hatred. But leadership is
The main
lonely.
route is clear, but we need to secure
At
the
night,
flanks.
when the White House
Agreed,
was
we'll take the
silent,
northern
he would
ridge.
sit alone.
Good, let's mark it.
Letters from mothers filled his desk, mothers who had lost sons. Every signature he gave during the war had a human cost. He carried that weight silently. People saw a tall, strong
The
president.
dogmas of the quiet past are
But inside,
inadequate to the
he
stormy
carried
present.
sorrow.
The occasion is piled high
Still,
with difficulty.
he never stopped believing
Gentlemen, the
in
eastern
the
flank is
American
vulnerable.
promise
We must reinforce it.
that
Agreed,
all
the
men
reserves
are
can be there by
created
dawn.
equal.
And the supply lines.
Just days after victory, he decided to rest for one evening. A simple night at the theater. A rare moment of peace. He smiled that night. And then, history changed forever. A single act of violence took his life. The man who had preserved the nation would not see the nation rebuild. The news spread like wildfire. Church bells rang across cities. Strangers cried together in the streets. Soldiers who survived battle wept openly. The country did not just lose a president. It lost a father figure. His funeral train traveled through towns and cities. Millions stood beside the tracks in silence. Some removed their hats. Some knelt. Some simply stood with tears in their eyes. Even in death, he united people. Years passed. America struggled. America rebuilt. America changed. But Lincoln's words never faded. When people fought for civil rights decades later, they remembered him. When leaders spoke about democracy, they quoted him. When the country faced division again, they looked back at his courage. In Washington, D.C., the Lincoln Memorial was built to honor him. A giant statue of Lincoln sits quietly, watching over the nation. But the real monument is invisible. It lives in every law that protects equality. It lives in every voice that speaks for justice. It lives in every citizen who believes unity is stronger than hate. Abraham Lincoln's life teaches something powerful. You can be born in poverty and still rise to greatness. You can fail many times and still succeed. You can face hatred and still choose kindness. You can carry pain and still lead with hope. He was not perfect. He made mistakes. He doubted himself. But he never gave up on the idea that a nation built on freedom must survive. That is why his story still moves hearts today. Because it is not just about politics. It is about courage. It is about sacrifice. It is about choosing what is right even when it costs everything. From a wooden cabin in Kentucky to the White House. From division to unity. He proved that one honest, determined human being can change the destiny of millions. And that is why the world still remembers Abraham Lincoln. Years turned into decades. America changed. Cities grew taller. Technology advanced. Generations passed. But something remarkable happened. Every time the country faced division, people remembered Abraham Lincoln. When leaders argued fiercely in Congress, his words about unity were quoted. When Americans struggled with equality, his Emancipation Proclamation was remembered. When the nation fought new wars, presidents studied how Lincoln led during the Civil War. Calm under pressure, firm in principle. In 1922, more than 50 years after his death, the Lincoln Memorial was officially dedicated. Thousands gathered. They stood quietly as speakers honored the man who had preserved the Union. But history did not stop there.
The projections are clear.
In
We must act now. I agree, but what are the
exactly 100
contingencies?
years
We
after
mitigate the
Lincoln
risks as
signed the
planned.
Emancipation Proclamation, another historic moment happened at the same memorial. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood before the statue of Lincoln and delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. He spoke of equality. He spoke of freedom. He spoke of justice. And behind him stood Lincoln, silent but powerful. It was as if Lincoln's dream was still unfolding. Through wars, through civil rights movements,
Fellow
through
citizens, we
political
cannot escape
storms and
history.
social change,
We of this Congress and this
Lincoln
administration will
remained
be
a symbol
remembered in
of
spite of
unity.
ourselves.
he became more than a president. He became a reminder. A reminder that democracy is fragile. A reminder that freedom must be protected. A reminder that leadership requires courage. Even today, when Americans debate fiercely, when the nation feels divided, journalists and leaders often ask, what would Lincoln have done? That question alone shows his influence. Because true leaders are not remembered for power.
Is that my baby sister?
Yes, she is.
They
your
are
new baby
remembered for
sister.
principles.
I'm so happy to meet you. Wow.
Lincoln's story teaches something deeper than history. It teaches resilience. A poor boy with almost no schooling rose to become one of the most respected leaders in the world. A man who faced depression and doubt led a nation through its darkest hour. A leader who could have chosen revenge chose forgiveness instead. That is rare. That is powerful. That is why his story still moves hearts. Not because he was perfect, but because he was human and still courageous. And so the story of Abraham Lincoln never truly ends. It lives in textbooks. It lives in speeches. It lives in the values of democracy. And it lives in every person who believes that unity is stronger than division. And justice is stronger than fear. From a log cabin in Kentucky to the pages of world history, Abraham Lincoln's voice still echoes. And as long as freedom matters, his story will continue. Years moved forward. The America Lincoln saved did not remain the same. It grew. It changed. It struggled again and again. New wars came. New presidents came. New conflicts divided people once more. But something interesting always happened during difficult times. When leaders felt pressure. When the nation felt divided. When democracy felt fragile. They looked backward to Lincoln. During World War I, leaders quoted his words about preserving democracy. During the Great Depression, when millions lost jobs and hope seemed thin, President Franklin Roosevelt studied how Lincoln spoke honestly to the people during crisis. During World War II, as freedom was threatened globally, Lincoln's idea of government of the people became a symbol of resistance against tyranny. His words crossed oceans. His speeches were translated into other languages. He was no longer just an American leader. He became a global symbol of freedom. But history is never simple. America still struggled with racial injustice long after slavery ended. Segregation continued. Discrimination remained. Freedom on paper did not immediately create equality in reality. And yet, Lincoln's promise remained like a quiet reminder in the background. In 1963, 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and declared, "I have a dream." Behind him stood the giant statue of Lincoln. It was as if history was speaking to itself. The dream Lincoln began was still being completed.
Look how high that tower is! Yeah, and
As
see that
decades
window up there?
passed,
I bet the
Lincoln's
view is
face appeared on the
incredible. Let's go check
$5
it out.
bill. His profile was carved into Mount Rushmore. His story filled classrooms across the country. But more important than statues and currency was the lesson he left behind. A nation can survive division if its leaders choose unity. Even in modern times, when political arguments grow loud and tempers rise, journalists and historians ask the same question. What would Lincoln say today? Would he ask for patience? Would he ask for compassion? Would he remind people that democracy requires listening? Probably. Because Lincoln understood something timeless. Power without humility is dangerous. Victory without forgiveness is fragile. Freedom without equality is incomplete. He was not perfect. Historians still debate his decisions. Some criticize his wartime actions. Some analyze his political strategies. But even critics admit one thing.
Fourscore and 7 years
He
ago,
held
our
the country
fathers brought
together
forth
when
on
it could
this
have shattered
continent
forever.
a new nation.
That